As you can see, Sudan, as you might have seen on the background, this day was once, for the first time, observed in 1990. Sudan as a country, one way or another, might have been marking this day in South Sudan. And then after that, we will have a statement from the Minister of Petroleum Mining being celebrated or marked by both UNIDO and the Minister of Petroleum Mining as a sign of collaboration or partnership.
It means to accelerate industrialization. South Sudan is just a country, 2 years old, and has started to crawl. It has not yet started to walk. It is crawling, and we hope that with your support, it will walk very soon. So please, the United Nations, we are aware that they help independent countries, newly independent countries, in every aspect, to make them stand on their own. And this is what has made you to be here today. So I would like to call upon the UNIDO representative in Juba to make sure that the members of the South Sudan business community are informed and they are to be on board with you. With this, I would like to say that this gathering is open today, and we would like to hear more from you. I don't want to take much of your time. Thank you.
In South Sudan by UNIDO, and I'm sure also by other agencies that are linked one way or the other to the industrial development. I think there will be no talking about industrial development if we don't focus too much on the human resources. As we all know, South Sudan is a new nation, and it just came out from so many years of difficulties, and after the independence, the building process has started. As UNIDO, some of you who visit the HQ in Vienna, you go ahead. I would like you to pay little attention to these numbers, and these are the basic, the bedrock from where we're gonna start. Don't pay attention to the statistics, these figures, that I would like you also to stop at. Rural, 83%. That means most of the population of South Sudan still in the rural area. And also for other agencies, I will cite specifically SIDA, the Canadian Agency for Development, the Japanese JICA have done also too much, and EU, British, so many donors have participated to the effort of training, the laureates from the South Sudan. Making money, and the consumer was consuming a better quality, especially if you're selling the fresh. So we make this tune-up in time. So this opportunity also to thank our colleagues from SIDA to announce also
the champion of the mission here in Southern Sudan. We thank you for your work. What I can say is that I will not touch on training because the representative of UNIDO have finished that work. This is human resources, and it has been doing UNIDO. I even got some training through UNIDO. But I am coming to industry. is weak, militarily, economically, and politically. Industry will create you jobs. Industry will allow you, will make you buy a strong weapon. High quality weapon means high price. Politically, people will listen to you. Your opponent will even fear you because of the industrialization. But if we want to industrialize our country, first of all, we have to see the infrastructure. Infrastructure is the one to attract the investors. Road, clean water, electricity, river transport, railway, internet must be there, airports. It should be functioning well.
You caught me by surprise because I thought there would be one other speaker before. From what I've understood, this is the first time that we are celebrating this day in South Sudan as a newly independent country. So I just wanted to say that's very good news. Everything to do with this particular event will help us drive forward this country and create jobs. Whether that happens today, tomorrow, next week, next month, or over the next 10 years, it will be the private sector, it will be job creation that drives forward the development of this country. It will never be a non-governmental organization, a UN agency, the World Bank, and donor, whether it's bilateral or multilateral. It'll always be the people of South Sudan, it'll be their innovation, their drive to create positive change and to, as we just heard from the example of 3 women in Nasir, to really start a business and make a go of it. I really hope to get in touch with them because I found it difficult to find good bread in Juba. So if they want to come down here and start baking bread and employing people to bake bread, let's enable them to do just that. Private sector activity here is accelerating. I don't know if Lores or others have already spoken to this, but there are thousands and thousands of businesses which have opened here since independence. I think the count is now approaching 10,000 businesses. That's a wonderful achievement, but we need 100,000. We really need the private sector to take off, and it's not big companies that help countries move forward. It's the small private enterprises, family shops, groups of friends who can get together, whether they're selling shoes or running a restaurant or providing a service. All of that will help move South Sudan forward. And we've got some good bits and pieces in place, Business Registration Act, the Contracts Act, the Investment Promotion Act. That's all good news. But I think we have to be very realistic. There's also some bad news, and there are some challenges ahead. It isn't easy opening a business here. Let's be honest about this. There are lots of bureaucratic impediments in place, and there are, unfortunately, lots of payments of different types that have to be made to different people or different institutions. And I think that if you are courageous enough to start a business in South Sudan, then let us put in place all the bits and pieces of legislation that are required to facilitate that. We really want the private sector to take off, and let's recommit ourselves to that. Some people worry about illiteracy, some people worry about the fact that there haven't been enough vocational training opportunities. I hear you. And of course, we want to address the illiteracy challenge here, and we want to make sure that people get the chance to be trained and in the best way possible. But in the meantime, we can do more to foster the development and the takeoff, if you will, of the private sector. I think that UNIDO deserves a special mention, not only for its strong commitment to private enterprise development, but I think we're lucky to have UNIDO here. We're lucky to have different parts of the UN system. We're lucky to have members of key embassies here. Whichever embassy you represent, I think it's a wonderful thing that you've come along. I'm particularly pleased because I've seen so many representatives of embassies here. And together with UNIDO and other parts of the UN system, let's really try to help people in South Sudan move things forward. So with that, let me just mention what the Secretary General of the United Nations has as a message on the celebration of Africa's Industrialization Day. On this year's Africa Industrialization Day, we are highlighting the crucial role of job creation and entrepreneurship in eradicating poverty. Although Africa is home to some of the world's fastest growing economies, with growth across a variety of sectors, far too many people are still being left behind. The region is affected by widespread unemployment, particularly among the youth. Many, especially women, are engaged in vulnerable forms of work with low and unstable pay. As we strive to meet the Millennium Development Goals and shape the post-2015 agenda, we must address the challenges of joblessness, youth unemployment, and the shortcomings of a large informal economy. By focusing on job creation, entrepreneurship, and the promotion of small and medium enterprises, we can boost inclusive and sustainable industrial development across the continent. Africa's economic dynamism, young population, and potential for innovation form the foundation for stronger and competitive industries. As we mark this 50th anniversary year of the establishment of the Organization of African Unity, the United Nations renews its commitment to Africa's development and the African Union's efforts to achieve inclusive growth. Let us work together to foster job creation and entrepreneurship throughout the continent as critical ways to build a more prosperous and sustainable future for all. That is the statement of the United Nations Secretary General to mark the Africa Industrialization Day. Thank you very, very much. In town. I'm one of the two deputy special representatives of the Secretary General here in South Sudan. So I'm one of the deputies to Hilda Johnson. At the same time, I am the resident coordinator of the operational activities for development of the UN system. At the same time, I'm the UNDP resident representative, and oh no, at the same time, I'm the humanitarian coordinator. So when things go wrong in parts of the country, when there are floods or other issues, I'm taken up by those responsibilities. So please forgive me for having to skip out. I really do appreciate the fact that you were flexible with the agenda and you accommodated this, because for me, just having a peep into this event and having a quick listen to Larissa's comments and hearing just that one anecdote about those three ladies, it's made my day. Thank you.
Has started in the year 1987. We have since that date we have expanded throughout several countries in the world, mainly China. We have in England, we have in Lebanon, and several Arabic countries, as well as several European countries as well. Our most recent office is here in the Republic of South Sudan. We have started with two projects. One of them is the cement project, and the other one we have also started with a printing press, an offset lithographic printing press. One of the challenges that this country is also facing, apart from what the gentlemen have explained, is the printing press industry. Currently, all the printing jobs are being done abroad in the neighboring countries, which is increasing the cost of the printing jobs and also is raising the risks of the transportation of the finished products. Therefore, the need for establishing such an industry has risen and has become a very crucial part of the South Sudanese requirements. Now, our printing press is basically, like I said, it's an offset printing press, which is using machines, German-made machines, and we have the capacity of producing anything from business cards to large billboards, books, magazines, newspapers, etc. Now, hopefully, we are now in the final stages of establishing this kind of printing press, and hopefully in the next month we're supposed to resume the operations. Now, as you know, this kind of business, it should employ around 50 to 60 young employees, since this kind of industry requires both physical and mental abilities, but mostly into physical abilities. So addressing the unemployment problem of this country, like I said, approximately 50 people are going to be working in this. So therefore, it's raising the employment opportunities. This is all I can say, because like I said, they didn't really leave me with much more to say about our company.
Murray, the Manufacturing Development Manager for South Sudan Beverages Limited. I would like to take this opportunity to convey an apology from my Managing Director, who happens to be a bit of caught up with emergency issues and he couldn't attend. Because of time, I'll just summarize the remarks that he would have actually conveyed in this very memorable day, the first of its kind in South Sudan, the Africa Industrialization Day. We are very, very privileged to be part of the industrial building in South Sudan, right from 2005, and we are actually continuing to be part of industrial building in South Sudan. Brief history of South Sudan Beverages. For those of you who may not know, South Sudan Beverages is a subsidiary of SAB Miller, which is actually a global beverage company in the world with branches in Africa, Asia, Austria, Europe, and the US. South Sudan Beverages has got a capacity of over 3 million hectoliters of beverage product, with its prime beverage being beer. We make White Bull, yeah, and soft drinks of average of around 350 hectoliter per year. We do produce water and range of spirits, and as well as import a range of beers as well in South Sudan. We started operation in 2005 with various phases, as you've seen the Kaboeta goodness factory, cement factory going through. We actually started operation, full operation in 2009 May, with only a single line of beer production. As we speak now, we're sitting with over 5 lines, with achievement of having a line actually installed in our company. We've recruited 600 direct employees. I mean, direct, as you guys saw from the report from UNIDO, there is actually a very virgin and open-minded 1,000 direct employees in sectors of entrepreneurship, and then farming. We indirectly employ people through our distribution routes. We've got distribution stores across the 9 states of South Sudan, in Bor, in Juba being the main, and currently in Western Equatoria, Wow, and as well as penetrating the markets of UNIDO states. We are supplying all those markets in terms of water, spirits, soft drinks, and we can't actually cover. The challenges that we are actually facing as being discussed with some of the stakeholders here is already been highlighted by the director. But we say that those challenges are actually opportunities, and we stand here to convey a message to all industrialists and investors to actually maximize on the use of those challenges. Energy and electricity, it's a very, very virgin market. As you guys know, there is no industry that can survive without generation of electricity. And for us to stay in an ecosystem, we would actually like the partnership of the government and investors able maybe to put up an electricity sector. Challenges of road connection, which is already being addressed by various ministries, we appreciate that. It's very, very, as well as very important to share some of the successes that SSBO has gone through. Being part of the development in 2005, it teaches us a lot of experiences that we can share with you. The workforce, the South Sudan workforce is an open-minded workforce. They are easy to model, easy to train, and easy to actually adapt to industrial environment. 600 employees at the moment are working for South Sudan Beverages and supplying more than 3 million hectoliters of product to the market. The market is very virgin, and there is a market value for everything that you can produce. Apparently, everything comes from neighboring countries, things like local materials that we actually using that can be produced locally. So we basically see that as an opportunity for other investors to come in. The relationship with the government has been very, very, very interesting and very nice. Support from the Ministry of Industry is worth mentioning that we are actually working very, very well. We got very nice support from the industry. With that, I would just like to conclude and say it's always worth taking a risk, and every investor is very, very invited in this environment. We've taken the risk and we're benefiting from that risk. Thank you very much.
The joint declaration, which is made by UNIDO, the African Union Commission, and the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, all of whom partner in seeing, or in their vision of seeing, an industrialized Africa. But before I go into the message, maybe I can just bring you a little bit to date on UNIDO. We opened the UNIDO office here, seeing the transition that the Republic of South Sudan is making from largely humanitarian to development. The office was opened in June this year. But prior to that, we did have projects ongoing since independence in 2011, as per the presentation that has been given by my colleague Laris. Now, UNIDO, for those of you that maybe it's the first time you're meeting us, as the name suggests, it's an industrial development organization, and we normally focus our activities on poverty reduction through productive activities. That means we focus on building the capacities to develop productive activities, particularly focusing on the use of the natural or available, what we call domestic raw materials. And that is where the MSMEs, or the micro, small, and medium enterprises come up. UNIDO normally operates at 3 levels. Again, this is just to bring you up to date on what we do. We operate at the macro level, where we support governments to develop the prerequisite policies for industrial development and support them in creating an enabling environment for industrial development. We also operate at the meso level, whereby the focus is on institutional capacity building, so that those services that both the public and the private institutions provide are standardized, and they are at the global level. And then we provide at the micro level, where my colleague, as my colleague mentioned, we go to the grassroots, we go to the people, we offer technical skills training, we offer business skills training. We link up those that have been trained with microfinance schemes so that they can start up their own businesses. And it is in this context that the African Industrialization Day, which has been celebrated since 1990, has focused on the theme of this year on MSME development, or job creation and entrepreneurship development, as a means to accelerate industrialization. South Sudan, like all countries in Africa, are going to be faced, or are facing, the biggest challenge yet, which is how to create jobs for their youth, or for the young population. And it is evident that 9 out of 10 jobs worldwide are from the private sector. The public sector simply does not have the capacity to absorb youth, or to provide employment for the youth. And that is why it becomes critical that the private sector thrives, that the private sector is promoted in the Republic, and that we start with the development or the promotion of entrepreneurship, so that we can see a thriving and a vibrant MSME sector. Now, that said, I will proceed to read the message from our Director General in Vienna, and I will follow that with the joint declaration, as I mentioned. The message from Lee Young, UNIDO Director General. Through the emphasis on job creation and entrepreneurship development, the African continent has the potential to spur inclusive economic growth and harness sustainability. Focusing on productive activities will help the continent to address the daunting challenges which persistently continue to hamper its industrial development. Inclusive and sustainable industrial development can be achieved through timely and tailored support towards initiatives and strategies centered on core tenets such as skilled workforce and the sharing of best practices, all of which contribute to the emergence of a robust, innovative, and competitive private sector. The existence of a skilled and flexible workforce will undoubtedly increase employability, contribute to poverty reduction, while ensuring the production of high-value manufactured goods. In line with its mandate, UNIDO remains committed to proactively assisting African governments and relevant stakeholders in accelerating industrialization through job creation and entrepreneurship development. Thank you. I'm sorry, you still have to see my from UNIDO, African Union Commission, and the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, the two, the AUC and the UNECA, all of you are aware, are based in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, while UNIDO's headquarters is in Vienna. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on this day we are united to celebrate the Africa Industrialization Day. Since 1990, with the constant support of the United Nations family and the active involvement of African governments, regional economic communities, private sector associations, and civil society organizations, the Africa Industrialization Day has been celebrated on 20th of November each year. Africa's ongoing strong growth led by commodity exports shows some vulnerability in terms of inclusiveness and had limited results in terms of job creation and poverty reduction. This year's Africa Industrialization Day theme, Job Creation and Entrepreneurship Development, a means to accelerate industrialization in Africa, reminds us of the necessity to enhance our coordinated efforts in tackling the issue of African unemployment and underemployment, one of Africa's major development challenges. In fact, the lack of sufficient decent employment impedes poverty reduction. The shift onto an industry-driven, scales-based growth path, in short, structural transformation of African economies, will provide many opportunities for decent employment in the continent and should not be delayed anymore. Consequently, the focus on entrepreneurship development is a key to Africa's economic growth. In this regard, the African Union, the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, and the United Nations Industrial Development Organization have formulated strategies aiming at improving curriculum, strengthening entrepreneurial culture, enlarging entrepreneurial base, managing training as well as the sharing of best practices as a means to foster job creation and self-employment in the continent. Moreover, the African Union, in collaboration with relevant stakeholders, has encouraged industrialization through the development of skills transfer and retention strategies in order to respond to the pressing need of matching graduate output with decent job opportunities. Despite our concerted efforts, the pace of job creation is still not matching population growth. Nevertheless, the current economic boom flowing from the high demand in commodities is an opportunity to invest massively in human capital needed for industrialization. Indeed, this investment will contribute to the achievement of proper growth and hence stimulate entrepreneurship development in Africa, which will result in job creation. Therefore, African Union, the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, and UNIDO together call for renewed and intensified actions in order to improve people's livelihood through decent and skilled employment. We wish you all an excellent celebration of the 2013 Africa Industrialization Day. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Skawira, for reading the statement. We are only left with the statement, and after that we will have 15 minutes question.
It is a day when statements are being read on behalf of our superiors. My minister is on a very important mission outside the country, and he, being aware of the importance of industrialization, he authorized that something be read on his behalf on this occasion. This is to make sure that he attaches very important consideration to this directorate. Ladies and gentlemen, from all government institutions, the representatives of United Nations agencies and non-governmental organizations, community in South Sudan, representatives of civil society groups and private sector, and everyone in attendance today, good afternoon. On behalf of the leadership of the Ministry of Petroleum, Mining and Industry, and the entire staff allow me to extend my sincere gratitude and congratulations to the team of United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, office in Juba, and the MPI's industry team for organizing the observance of this important day. Catching up with the rest of Africa and the world in the field of industrialization requires us to double our efforts, our strides, and this calls for hard work and sacrifice. Indeed, this year's theme, job creation and entrepreneurship development, a means to accelerate industrialization in Africa, loudly pronounces our desire to join the rest of Africa in marching towards industrialization. We know that industrialization is a prerequisite to development, and we clearly understand the role that industrialization plays in entrepreneurship and job creation. Ladies and gentlemen, industry development is one of the nascent units of MPMI, merged with petroleum and mining units during the recent restructuring of the government of the Republic of South Sudan. As we work hard in laying a strong foundation for this important unit, we face challenges such as lack of legal framework and low staff capacity. In collaboration with partners such as UNIDO and World Bank, we strive to ensure that the industrial law, industrial policy, and regulations are put in place and staff's capacity is enhanced in the shortest time possible. This will significantly investment, entrepreneurship, and create jobs for our young people. Our country's dependency on import of materials required for construction work, especially cement, has made the construction industry the most expensive. Given that raw materials are abundantly available for the project, we will work closely with the interested investors to ensure cement factory is built in the shortest time possible to turn things around. We are also working closely with other relevant government institutions to ensure that other challenges such as power generation and road access are addressed to pave way for industrial development. As we observe this day, I challenge my industry team to double their efforts in creating an enabling environment for industrial development with a view to enhancing job creation and entrepreneurship for our youth, who make the biggest proportion of our population. That is the message to Mr. Vermo. The Minister thanks you for listening to this statement. Thank you.
Not be possible. The human resources without
for having persevered up to this time. Industrialization today is the means by which the raw materials are processed into goods, capital goods, or direct consumable goods. And we as a country, which has just attained independence, and we are now number 193. We have just got ourselves in the queue, and we don't want to remain there. We want to get out of that place, climb the ladder. How fast we are going to go up there becomes our challenge. And as we are an agricultural country, we will always look for comparative advantage. The situation we are in at present, we are landlocked, but being landlocked, we must survive. We have oil. We are now working hard to try to find a way of reaching the international markets with crude oil. But we are at the same time working hard to establish local refineries to satisfy the local consumption and to export the refined products with the value added. And this is industrialization. We, at the same time, will, after refining the crude oil, we are going to go for petrochemical factory. And this is described as the highest stage in industrial development, the yardstick of the measurement of industrialization, to add value to your products. Now, for a country which is an agricultural country, you always go from agriculture, then you go to industrialization, and you go to the service sector. You add value. So South Sudan, if we are going to have our oil being refined from here, and we go for petroleum products, exporting petroleum products, and we have petrochemical factory, then we will have plastic goods for our sacks, for agricultural products, we shall have fertilizers, and we shall have a lot of other plastic products. This will be a very big achievement. We will not be in that position of 193. We will have climbed the ladder very fast. So what we need at present, Minister of Environment, no any development project can be undertaken in the present day well without environmental impact assessment. And that was the point he was making, that we have not forgotten you. We are now dealing with the paperwork. And this is what he was saying. Laws are not yet in place. They are in hurry. They want to do something. And that's why they made that presentation. But we have not yet finished the paperwork with them. So please, just remain ready. I was with your Undersecretary yesterday. And we talk about that. He's my friend, Victor. So please, your concern will never be disregarded, because no project will be undertaken without any environmental impact assessment. That will not happen. So with us, we are a country well endowed with the natural resources. We have the oil. We are an agricultural country. And correct approach to development starts from agriculture to industrialization and to the service. So with this, we have a very big task. And I would be asking you, UNIDO is in Juba, and it has done some work in Upper Nile State. How do you reach the rural south if you are to be engaged in poverty reduction? We need very simple methods, implements for poverty reduction. And I was asking you whether there is a simple mechanism for squeezing out oil, cooking oil from ground nuts. We in the south here, we have a lot of ground nuts. We have simsim. But up to this time, our industrial sector has not put it upon itself to get involved in the local production or the local oil mills. These have not yet been done. But if there is a very simple way of reaching the rural south with very simple machines which can squeeze out oil from the groundnuts, from the simsim, and from the other oil fruits, that would be a very great work. So I would not like to keep you long again. A lot of excellent discussion has started, and we have been very much encouraged by goodness, and they have talked about printing press here. That would be very nice. It started very quickly, employing about 50 to 60. We have a lot of youth loitering here. We are unable to solve that problem. We will be providing a solution to that. So with this, I would like to thank all of you for having attended to this, and I would like to thank you, UNIDO, and we are ready to listen to you and be prepared to have a meeting whenever you request it. We have the three: the mining sector, the industry, and the oil operating companies. They are under our control. Anytime you want meeting, put it in writing and everything will be arranged. If you don't get me, شعب جنوب السودان نحن كنا نجتمع ليلة عشان نناقش مشاكل التصنيع مشاكل التصنيع في جمهورية جنوب السودان. فنحن في جنوب السودان كدولة دولة وليدة يحول لدولة قريب ده عننا سنتين. ففي منظمة في الأمم المتحدة بيسموه يونيدو. يونيدو ده بيساعد الدول النامية اللي عندهم مشاكل بتاع التصنيع، يعني دارين يصنع أقل شيء زي الطعام والصابون والملابس وجسمة وحاجات بسيطة جدا، يبدأ بين ديل ويمشي لقدام. فنحن في دولة جمهورية جنوب السودان اجتمعنا اليوم في يوم بيسموه يوم افريقيا للتصنيع. فناس الأمم المتحدة الواقفين معي الآن جاء عشان يشجع الناس بتاع جنوب السودان. ووزارة البترول والتعدين والصناعة هي المكلف بمهمة بتاعت القيام بمصانع في جنوب السودان. فالإخوة والأخوة من الأمم المتحدة وصاحب الشركات، أنا شركة كبيرة يهودا، وأنا شركة بسموه جودنس للأسمن. وفي نفس الوقت الشركة ده قام اليوم من السنة ده بتأسيس المطبعة عشان ناس تاني ما يمشي يطبع في يوغندا ولا كينيا ولا خرطوم. لو هلا فتح الطريق كله هيعملوه في جوبا هنا ده، وده هيشغل لنا حوالي 50 ل 60 من العاطلين الآن. فده هيحل لنا المشكلة. ده الغرض بتاع الاجتماع بتاع الليلة. ونفس الوقت أنا شركة بسموه جود ناس ده شغال في المشروع بتاع أسمن في منطقة كابويتا. ده هيشغل لنا آلاف من الناس. ده الشغل اللي هيزيد لنا الإنتاج، لأنه كل زول داير يبني بيت، كل زول داير يقوم بشيء مهم جدا محتاج للأسمن. فبدل ما نمشي نجيب الأسمن من يوغندا ولا من كينيا، هنجيبه من كابويتا قريب هنا. وبرضه دايرين نعمل في محلات تانية. وعندنا مشروع بتاع السكر، دايرين نعمل مشروع بتاع سكر هنا في جوبا، وسكر في بحر غزال، وسكر في على النيل. كل دول يشتري سكر جنبه. فده مهمة هيقوم به يونيدو. فده بالعربي البسيط ده السبب بتاع اجتماع بتاع الليلة هنا في هوم اند اواي. فأشكركم كلكم وتستعيدوا في شهرين ولا 3 شهور في المطبعة. المطبعة في خلال شهر ياهو جنبي قال بكلامه ذاك. والبيرة شغال هسه مش كده؟ شغال هسه شغال دي كم؟ انت شغلت كم؟
شغلنا هسه اكثر من 500,000 هكتوليتر.
كم ناس شغلت؟
اكثر من 600 ناس شغال دايركت.
ديل 600 هسه لو ما خطر خير مثلا البيرة اللي كان هسه بيكونوا نايمين في شوارع جوبا ده. فده مهمة زيادة لوزارة. فده الغرض بتاع الاجتماع بتاعنا. You have something to say.
بعد الانتهاء من مرحلة الأبحاث والمواد الخام إن شاء الله بإذن الله دي هتستغرق حوالي من 9 أشهر لسنة. بعد كده بناء المصنع حوالي 4 سنين. في النهاية خالص تشغيل 500 العمالة دول مش بس الكفاية، دول أثناء إنشاء المصنع نفسها few thousand of labor will use in the building of the plant. علشان إنشاء المصنع هنحتاج آلاف العمالة العادية من فنيين وعمال عاديين وخرسانة وعتالة. كل ده هيساهم في تقليل البطالة في السودان. زائد عنصر الترانسبورت أو النقل من كابويتا هنلاقي حركة انتعاش قوية جدا في الطرق. فإن شاء الله طريق البطالة وتشغيل العمالة في الطريق إن شاء الله للحل بإذن الله إن شاء الله.
Okay.